Hello, Jack.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Paul, you and I have been friends for quite a while now. A
We
couple
have.
years.
Yeah, it's been close to 3.5, close to 4.
Has
I
it?
think. Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay.
Because I think we met each other shortly after COVID.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
At Witcherama, I believe it was.
That's right. It was
Mhm.
at Witcherama. Yeah. I remember you talking to somebody and you said, yeah, have you heard about Jack Chavez? And I said, yeah, right here.
I
Uh,
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's weird how life would do that, you know.
Yeah, it
It's
was
just
very
kinda-
very synchronistic.
Yeah, because I had just seen your ad for, I think it was your first Paracon you were
Yeah.
having.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, Jack Chavez, that's the guy that owns the page. I'm like, yeah, this guy Jack. You're like, oh, I'm Jack.
Yeah.
What?
I was like, oh, I'm Jack.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I'm gonna move this.
Oh
right
yeah,
here.
sure.
But yeah. And it's been great since.
It has been, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So Paul, tell us what you do.
Oh, well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Well, I am a teacher by day, but don't want to say my true passion, but my other passion is tarot. I do personally practice like forms of witchcraft. I've recently gotten into sort of making like my own blends of oils and room sprays, and eventually gonna branch out to other things. But
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
I'd like to think of myself as quite the student of the occult, but
Sure.
there's always a lot to learn, and you start one place and then you unlock a thousand other paths.
Well, I mean, the occult is a lifelong journey.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like everything else, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you could never become an expert in that kind of field.
No, oh, absolutely not. And anybody who says they are is probably lying to you,
Yeah.
or they're trying to sell you something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And how did you get into it, the occult?
Well, for me, it kind of started since I was a kid. I'm not gonna lie to you. I remember being 5.
Okay.
I was 5, and I think Matilda. Do you remember that movie Matilda, the one with Miss Trunchbull?
Oh, sure.
That girl with the powers.
Yeah.
So I was always just like, oh, that's so cool. So then I remember I would watch Matilda, and I'd sit there for like an hour staring at like water bottles trying to make a move and get mad.
So what was her? Because okay, I know I'm familiar with the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never seen it. Why did she have the powers?
I don't know. I guess it was supposed to be some sort of metaphor about like your mind is stronger than any situation, and it's just they use, I guess, telekinesis as a way to sort of exemplify that. But yeah, that sort of like otherism of life has always been an interest for me.
Yeah.
And I remember when I turned 7, I learned how to use AskJeeves.com. For anybody who's younger than like 25, that was Google before Google.
Yeah.
So I started looking up like real witchcraft spells, or just stuff like that.
Mhm.
It was always something I was into. I don't know why, but it was just like a calling since I was a kid.
What was your religious upbringing as a kid?
Catholic.
Catholic?
Catholicism.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you incorporate that into, or are you totally divorced from?
Oh no,
Catholicism?
absolutely not. No, I. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have been like, yes, absolutely. I don't. But now I'm just like, no. There's, my personal philosophy, and I consider myself to be more of, just a side note, more of a spiritualist versus like any one particular religion, because I find truth in everything.
Sure.
I've prayed to Jesus. I talk to God. I pray to the saints, but I also work with the other half as well.
Right,
so it's
yeah.
just not just that half, but just a little bit of everything. And so to answer your question, yes, I do still incorporate a big part of my Catholic upbringing, and I think in a more meaningful way now than I would have even maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to distance yourself from a thing in order to be able to come back to it and appreciate it.
Exactly.
I think we've had a couple people on the show that were raised Christian or Catholic, and then kind of went their own direction, but then eventually they came back. I think our guest Desiree Rob. I think Desiree was one of our guests, and that happened to her as well.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's nice to to get back to your roots if that's your calling.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just, like I said, there's truth in everything, and I think it'd be unwise to sort of to dismiss something because you've had issues with it in the past.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And so you're a little kid. You're looking up. You're using Ask Jeeves.
Yes.
You're looking up. Different spells and things like that. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming by the time you get into your teenage years, you're like actually casting spells here. Or no?
Sure. Yeah. Let's call it that. But
what were you doing?
Well, I don't want to undermine the things I was doing as a teenager, but it was very light versions of of what spells were. I had lots of Wicca books. I think, Wicca is its own faith in its own, in its own right, and I don't want to downplay that, but I do think for a lot of people who are teenagers, they sort of start on that path with Wicca.
Yeah.
So lots of the stuff that I did were out of like Wiccan books. So I, cast I called the corners. I cast my circle. I spoke to spirit, in its various forms. The male, female, masculine, feminine. As far as like spells go, like full-fledged like ritual spells, not too many. I think I was kind of afraid of ironically enough, I was afraid of accidentally summoning demons, which I was terrified of when I was a teenager.
See, that's that Catholic guilt right there.
Yes, exactly. I was terrified of doing that, and I would have never admitted it because but I was terrified of accidentally summoning something that I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, which is a legitimate concern.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want to do that either.
Mm-hmm.
So then, how old until you started to go beyond that and take things a little bit more seriously?
I was very wishy-washy for a good portion of my early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I would read a little bit here, read a little bit there, but never anything sort of fully. I would say it wasn't until I got I'd say during COVID is when things sort of started to shift for me, because I had more time to sort of dedicate to reading and to doing meditations and stuff like that, which eventually led to now where I'm more active in spell work or what have you. So yeah, I think 28, 29 is when things started to get more serious for me in that regard.
And when it comes to performing a ritual or a spell, what do you tend to do it for?
Personal growth, right? I there's conversation of whether or not what people are doing is real or whatever. I think that's irrelevant, because it's just for me, spells are sort of like prayers, but enhanced with a bit more focus. But at this point, I do it for personal growth, for insights, for a little help, when it comes to, if I'm looking for a job or something, for something to be a bit more favorable.
So that's interesting. You said that, so you don't, is it the idea that you don't know whether or not the spells will work? It's more like a placebo effect?
No, not so much a placebo effect, but I'm just saying, I think I'm speaking more so for anybody who may be listening, just to kind of clarify. I'm not saying I'm not trying to be some sort of person that says spells work and because I said so. I'm just more so kind of putting it out there. Just some people may or may not believe, but for me at least, I do put a bit of, how do you say it? Like I do believe that it works. I've seen it work for myself. I've seen the results of various rituals, and sometimes you go, when it first happens, you go, wait, okay, that's weird. It's just like, is it just coincidence? Is this, just maybe maybe I got lucky this time,
Right.
But no, yeah, I definitely do believe in what I'm doing, and I don't think it's a placebo. I think if anything, so kind of to go off that point, some people believe that spell casting is a way to sort of imprint on your subconscious mind to sort of get something that you want, because the idea is that your subconscious mind is the one that's running the show,
right?
And that if you get your subconscious mind to agree to something, it's more likely to happen, right? It's what influences I call them your micro decisions throughout the day. It's what influences whether you're going to sit down and read for 20 minutes or use that 20 minutes to doom scroll. It's what determines whether you're going to, your 30-minute drive to work, whether you're going to listen to pop music for 30 minutes or finally get down to listening to that podcast for 30 minutes. It's just, I believe that spells and rituals sort of help to kind of influence that sort of subconscious thinking into making things more likely to happen. But at the same time, I do think it also affects external things, but that's something beyond my ability to sort of explain, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great point too, because some people will do, they'll perform ceremonies and they'll conduct spells, and they believe that like there is nothing inherently quote unquote magical taking place. It's like you said, what they're doing is trying to leave imprints in their subconscious for self-improvement, So I mean that also makes sense too. But yeah, no, you're going about it the other way. You're saying this is magical.
I mean, yeah, but in many ways I do think so, because I mean, these are, some of these things come from texts that are thousands of years old, and people were using them then and they're using them now, so something's got to be going on. And there's something to be said for things like quantum physics. And I don't want to be like one of those people that goes, well, oh, quantum physics means that magic's real. No, it's just, there's a lot about our universe that we don't understand.
Right.
And I'm not going to dismiss something, especially if I've had observable results from the things that I've done, right? And I'm not naive enough to think it was all just, it's all because of me that this thing happened. It's just like, no, like, some pretty significant things happened that were outside of my control, but yet they happened the way that I wanted them to after I did this ritual or whatever,
Sure.
So there's, and some rituals aren't even for sort of, some sort of gain or whatever. Some of them are to open communication to spirits or whatever, and then you'll have instances of groups of people who participate in a ritual who will witness things that are very unexplainable. It's just like, well,
yeah,
I mean?
absolutely,
So I don't want to say that I don't believe that it's not magical, because I just don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And we'll cut this part out. But Rob, where are we at right now?
For time?
Yeah, for time, because I have a question.
15 minutes.
Okay, let's remember that so we could let Mike know at 15 minutes to cut this part out. I was gonna ask you, we don't need his little thing to record? He brings the thing to record.
Oh no, that's not to record. That's
to save it.
to save it. Yeah.
But so what are we gonna use? Can I just remember this? What are we gonna use when?
I'm just gonna save it on the computer.
Oh, that'll work.
Come here. I did forget this guy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
How did he turn this on?
Oh, there's a button. Yep.
Hey everybody. Hey Andreas, Rebecca, Mia, Salvador, Katie, Buddy Love. If you guys have any questions for Paul, let us know. Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
Okay. You ready? Hey, Nitha. Sandra says hi, Paul.
Hello.
Okay, and we're gonna go back. Let us know if you have any questions. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So, yeah, and at some points when you're engaging in this practice, you discover tarot cards.
Mm-hmm.
And now, are you self-taught tarot reading?
For the first half of like because I think I've been reading for, let's see, I'm 33 now, 20 years now. So I think for the first 15 of those years I was self-taught.
Okay.
And I would say self-taught is a stretch. I kind of just, excuse me, I would do something what I consider to be a very non-traditional way of reading, because I would just intuitively read what I felt the cards meant. I wasn't studying, the Rider-Waite system or the Thoth system or or the Marseille. I was just going off of the images, and even with that though, I was having readings where things were making sense for the people I was reading for. So I'm just like, so something's going on. The last 5 years have been a bit more formal. A good friend of mine, her name is Laura Lee. Shout out to Laura Lee. She took me under her wing and took me through a couple month course on reading tarot via the Rider-Waite system, and for the purpose of helping us to kind of be a bit more sort of professional.
Yeah.
So that I could put myself out there and offer services as far as tarot goes. So for the past 5 years, I've been more, by the books, but I still try and implement some of that intuitive reading, because, you can't have one without the other.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I find that there are tarot readers that will only do one of those. And I feel like, well, you're missing half of what you're supposed to be doing.
Right, because I'll take, the first half of that course, for example, was all about just like the major arcana, which is 22 cards. And one card alone, there is such a depth of information. You could spend weeks on a single card.
Yeah.
And I would have never, obviously, I would have never have even begun to understand just how deep these cards go if I were just, going it alone. Not to say that you can't, but I don't think I was at the point in which I could have understood that. But yeah, I think it's a disservice to yourself as a reader to, ignore one, for the other. I think it's good to try and incorporate both.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you've been doing it formally for the past couple of years now.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you're really incorporating, partly the Wiccan tradition with spells, with tarot reading, and what else do you got under your belt?
I wouldn't say it's the Wiccan tradition, but it's more just, again.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay. No, just want to clarify that way people are not like, he's not a Wiccan. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's just
no. I'm glad.
Yeah,
Please, correct me.
No, but like I said, more of a spiritual path, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely been more active in my spirituality, and not just for myself, but for others. And I try to not be pushy about it, because everybody's path is their own, and I don't want to make people feel that I'm trying to say that mine is the only way, or mine is the right way. But I do take pride in helping people to discover their paths via my path.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do know about you, is that you're all for lending yourself to other people, which I think is one of your greatest characteristics, in my opinion. Is like you always use what you know in service to others. So that I think that is awesome.
Thank you.
And what type of literature do you use, or do you at all?
Yeah, as far as tarot reading or just in
Or
general?
in general, yeah.
So recently, I've been reading a lot of. I've been trying to be a bit more well-rounded in what I'm reading. Lots of financial mindset books because I feel an untalked about a part of spirituality that isn't talked about enough is how it influences your more mundane aspects of your life.
That's a
Right.
great point.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like I could be this all-powerful sorcerer, but yet I still owe you know what I mean?
It's still in debt.
I'm
yeah.
still in massive debt, and not to downplay people who who are very well versed in the occult, but there's something to be said for you could use it to help propel you. So
Yeah.
I'm in being more spiritual. My guides have sort of made me realize, hey, it's great to learn about astrology and all these things, but you should also learn about how to manage your finances better. Just more practical things. But
Well, you and the reason why I say that's such a good point, and I know you already know this. Maybe this is more for the audience, but it's like that is what magical practices were originally for.
Mhm.
They were for bettering oneself. They were supposed to it was supposed to be to align your spirit
Mhm.
with the one,
Right.
and there was supposed to be this a sense of this inner transformation, I should say.
Mhm.
And it's almost like that's not really used like that. It's not really used like that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we know, both you and I know so many people in the spiritual or the occult world that are not doing well.
right.
And it's really their fault that they're not doing well.
Right.
know?
Yeah, and it's I hate to say it, but it's true. Yeah, unfortunately.
Everybody's on their own path.
Right. Exactly.
And they're not
Mhm.
necessarily bad. Oh, some people are. They're not necessarily bad people.
Right.
But it's like you're using what not incorrectly.
Mhm. Yeah, because like I said, everybody is on their own path, but I do think again there's something to be said for using your spirituality, whatever that may be for you, to better yourself, and not just as a person, but your situation as a person. So, aside from that, I'm focusing on astrology because that's my weak point when it comes to my spirituality. I've never been one to sort of understand it, so I'm trying to be better with that. I am always trying to learn more about tarot, so I'm always reading some sort of tarot book. Right now, I'm going through a book called, excuse me, it's called Around the Tarot in 78 Cards. So it's kind of like going through each card to try and understand it as if though it were like a character or like a place that you're visiting.
Okay.
And it's really cool because it's helping me to see cards from perspectives that I never would have.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it's just there's always something to learn. So I think right now my big focus is on getting better with tarot and astrology. So as far as literature, that's what I'm reading most of. I want to dive into some of the other books I have because I have lots of books on Enochian magic, for example. I've read up on Enochian, but I think I'm too chicken to actually try the rituals.
Are you?
Yeah, but
well, I mean, rightfully so. I mean, one should be careful dealing with that kind of magic, or any kind of magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
people have gone crazy, using Enochian magic.
Yep.
And my friend Laura, she swears that it's it's evil, but at least I think that's what she said. Laura, if you're listening to this, feel free to correct me. But
well, to her point, I mean, all magical practices could be dangerous,
right,
if you don't know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're either communicating with spirits or invoking spirits, and you're trying to do well, there is always that chance that things could go sideways.
Right. And for me, so I spent the entirety of my summer last year engrossed in learning the Enochian system.
Oh, cool.
And I still don't feel like I know enough.
Yeah.
So
actually, we should probably talk. What is Enochian magic?
So Enochian magic is a system of magic that is based on the findings of uh, Edward Kelly and Dr. John Dee, who were two occultists from the Victorian era, who worked for Elizabeth. I can't remember the number, but Queen Elizabeth.
Queen Elizabeth. Yeah.
And they were allegedly visited by angels that taught them that almost kind of transcribed a system of magic
Mm-hmm.
with that dealt with communicating with angels known as angels of the Enochian system. And Enochian is actually a language, right? It's the angelic language. It's the language that angels speak,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of like taking that language and writing it down, because the language in itself holds power. That's kind of the basic, like Cliff Notes version of what Enochian magic is. Here is basically think of it as like the most powerful paragraph you've ever read, and within the paragraph are the names of angels, abilities they have, things they can do to help you, and there's a lot. There's a lot that goes in it. There's tablets that you have to learn. There's a bunch of tools that you're required to get, but there's a lot.
And John Dee and Edward Kelly, they were highly intelligent,
Yeah.
highly versed in the occults.
Mhm.
And so I'm always curious about that story about them encountering angels, because it's like, well, what were they doing? Well, we know what they were doing where the angels contacted them, but they were doing their own rituals and practices.
Right, yeah.
But it's like they must have hit on something just right,
Mhm.
where these beings came to them.
Yeah, I remember reading that they were just like, they kind of became obsessed with like getting everything down, because it was literally, I forget who was the one who was channeling. I think it was Edward Kelly was channeling, and I can't remember exactly, but one of them was channeling, the other one was like writing everything down.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it just trying to transcribe the system almost made them kind of go insane.
Right.
And that was just transcribing it. Could you imagine actually using it?
Yeah, exactly.
What it could do, you know?
Yeah. You know what that reminds me of? I'm gonna actually get up and show you. Hold on.
Okay.
It was Edward Kelly that was channeling.
Okay, it was.
I looked it up.
Thanks, Roxana. Oh, Sandra says hi, Robert. Okay. This book, The Rendlesham Enigma, Book 1, Timeline. Okay. In Rendlesham Forest, I'm gonna read, and this pertains to what we're talking about. Okay, the Rendlesham Forest incident of December 1980 is considered by far the most significant event in UFO history. It was also a unique military-related event, having taken place in Rendlesham Forest, just outside the twin bases of RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge in Suffolk, England, both of which had been transferred to the United States Air Force in 1951 by the British Ministry of Defense, becoming one of the largest and most important NATO complexes in Europe during the Cold War. The account given in this book is that of James Peniston, a staff sergeant at the time of the incident, who was the primary witness who led the investigation in the beginning and had top secret clearance, one of only 8 people with top secret clearance working security at the twin bases. His credibility and honesty were highly respected throughout his years. Jim Peniston has teamed up with the author Gary Osborne to present the definitive account of the Rendlesham incident at the aftermath of the events. So basically what happened to Jim Peniston is the UFO landed and he touched the UFO. And when he touched the UFO, he got this download where all these symbols appeared in his head. And the author, Gary Osborne, was able to, I think he was able to like make zeros and ones
Mm-hmm.
out of this language, out of these symbols, because he said that it was like actually like communication.
Right.
My point in saying this is, I wonder if John Dee and Edward Kelly were actually visited not by angels but by aliens. You know?
Yeah, I mean it's possible because there are accounts of people who have encountered ETs that always talk about they spoke but they didn't, but their mouths didn't move. You know, they were, speaking, telepathically. They could hear the voices and they could, project entire images. So side note, have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
Yeah.
So one of the things that they talk about in the telepathy tapes is how, the kids who are experiencing these things are saying spoken word is such an inefficient way to communicate ideas, because I can just project an entire thing to you, like an entire book's worth of information, and then you just get it.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you're right. Maybe they thought it was angels, but maybe it was just ETs. Who knows?
Or it was vice versa.
Right.
Maybe John Dee was communicating with angels, and then the Rendlesham Forest incidents was actually not aliens, but angels.
Right, yeah.
We don't know.
Right.
We don't know.
And it's interesting because who was it, the one that created a series of like zeros and ones? Who was that?
Oh, Gary Osborne.
And is he sort of like a tech person? Was that sort of his thing?
He's a researcher for sure.
Okay.
I don't know his exact background, but
because if that's the case, because here's the reason why I bring this up. My understanding is that the reason that Enochian magic has all these complicated geometric shapes and tables is because I think John Dee was a mathematician. So they were communicating with him.
I never thought about that.
So they were giving him something he understood, which was math, geometry.
You just blew my mind, dude.
Right? So it's just like, if he were a musician, would they have given him like symphonies? Or, how would it have been different if he was different? And which further, begs the question, were they angels? Or were they,
Or maybe something else entirely.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, he was a mathematician. What would you say?
Just real quick, that would tie into a lot of other mystics and prophets
Yeah.
that were claimed to have been visited by, angels and
Yeah.
beings. Like off the top of my head, I know Joseph Smith. It was a lot of Mormons always talk about how he wasn't the smartest man.
Right.
And if you look at the reports, the angels kept having to repeat themselves to him. Sweden doing his own thing. You look at them,
Yeah.
it's matching up with what he's saying, where it's like they communicated to these people the same way.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know if that would be angels or aliens. But also what was his name?
Peniston.
Peniston. Didn't he believe that the ship was from the future? It was humans from the future. I don't know if he still believed that.
Yeah. So he ultimately doesn't know. Yes, he said that, but he ultimately doesn't know. I mean, I met Jim Peniston last year actually, and when I asked him about it, he's like, I don't know what the hell happened. He's like, it happened, but what it is, I don't know.
Right. And see, this is sort of the mindset that I approach, going back to my, to my spiritual practice, is I don't know what's happening. I know something's happening and it's working and it's been good so far. So, that's why I still do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Rob brings up a good point with Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, who encountered an angel named Moroni. And then, we got Mormonism.
Right.
Now, everyone is very quick to dismiss Joseph Smith as like a con artist.
Right.
But if you look at the initial experience that he had, it lines up with a UFO abduction experience. With a bright light, a being appears, there's missing time. It's really interesting.
So that kind of makes me think of something else. Have you ever seen those videos about type 1, type 2 civilizations and what that would look like?
No.
So, according to, I forget who penned this way of looking at things, but a type 1 civilization is essentially like a civilization that has perfected using the resources on its planet without like depleting them.
Okay.
Type 2 has expanded to its neighboring planets. So it's learned how to harvest energy and resources from from its neighboring planets. And then as you go on, it's like it's further like progress as a civilization. There's one, I can't remember the exact number, but there's one type of civilization where they've built something called a Dyson sphere. Have you heard of that before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where they're able to, harness the power of a star and use that to fuel, their whatever, right? But I remember there's a type where essentially you transcend all material things to the point where you understand everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sort of almost like you're sort of like indistinguishable from a spiritual being, which again begs the question, were they angels or were they simply beings of a type whatever civilization?
Right. Beings that have transcended to a
Mm-hmm.
non-corporal state.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So I just,
Yeah.
just some things to think about.
But all we know is that the magic is working. So
Yes, the magic is working.
Magic is, so what and you go to a bunch of vendor events,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you practice there.
Mm-hmm.
Not practice, I mean you give readings and stuff.
By the way, Thornton, March 22nd, come to our vendor event, 12 to 5. Sorry. I had to do it.
That's Thornton.
Thornton, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thornton distilling company.
Thornton distilling company.
Distilling
company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be selling my sprays, just in case somebody wants to buy any. But sorry, I'm so sorry.
No. That's good. That's good. We'll promote it at the end too.
Cool, perfect.
But yeah. So when are you ever thinking about writing a book or something?
I've been told that people, that because of the way that I'm sort of, how do I say it? It's just so I've been told that I should.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm honestly, I don't know if I'm smart enough to actually write one. So I'm just like, because I always pictured, people who write books like that to be like these really like masterful, intelligent people. I'm just
true.
I'm just me. I mean, I'd like to write one. I just don't know.
You should write one.
I just got to figure out what I would write it about.
Yeah. Well, what about the topic that I want to ask you about?
Mm-hmm.
Demonolatry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is demonolatry?
So, sorry. Okay. So, so demonolatry by definition is demon worship.
Not demonology.
Right. Exactly.
Which is the study of demons.
Mm-hmm.
Demonolatry
is demon worship, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when people hear that, there's a very knee-jerk reaction of like, whoa, okay there, buddy. Look at you over here playing with fire, right?
Yeah.
But, and to an extent, I understand why that's the reaction, but...
And I should say I'm asking you about this because I know
that's part of my practice, right? Yeah,
that is part of your practice.
That's part of my practice. So...
we're getting comments, and so I just want to say, hey, everybody that's watching the live version of this, hello. Okay, demonolatry.
Okay, so from what I've learned, and from what I've experienced, demonolatry is sort of working with these beings that are spiritual but closer to the earth, so they have more of like an understanding of what human life is like because they're sort of closer in vibration to the earth, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's sort of based off of the old definition of what demon was, which was based from Greek, from Greek,
daemon.
Which is right, daemon, which was a divine intelligence which imparts wisdom, right? So what I work with, I feel has been mostly positive.
Mhm.
You know, some people may disagree, and that's fine. You know, but I've had very positive experiences, and as a matter of fact, it's because of demonology that I circled back to Catholicism and to my roots and
Mhm.
started working with angels, because it was through those sessions, you know, through those meditations that I was told, hey, you need to work with these higher vibrational beings too to balance yourself out, because even though we're not evil, right, the vibrations we have are are lower. So doing one too much of one or the other can mess you up, basically. So yeah, I subscribe to the demonology label a bit more, like, again, when I was 28, 29.
Mhm.
But now I've sort of moved toward closer to a spiritualist
Okay.
who isn't afraid to sort of work with demons.
Right.
Granted, I know about them, right? Because I'm not just going to be like, I don't just work with just any demon or whatever. Just like, oh, hey, look, a demon, I want to work with you. No, because, that's careless. Because just like with people, different spirits have different temperaments, have different ways of working, and you have to make sure that you are aligned with their energies so that you can have a positive relationship with those beings.
Yeah, my understanding is that demonology, as its origin, came from a 1595 book by Nicholas Remy, and it was actually a book, a condemning witches and like how to identify witches.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward to modern times, there was a book by S. Connolly called The Book of Demonology.
Mm-hmm. The Complete Book of Demonology.
The Complete Book of Demonology.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's where we get the idea that well, that's not, let me rephrase. It's not where the idea of demonology originates, but it's the idea that demonology is no longer necessarily the worship of demons,
Right.
but it's using these demonic, not demonic, these demonic principalities for ritual purposes.
Right. So sort of like using them to help to bring you to, higher levels of being a person, right? So I, for example, work with a spirit named Payman, who has a reputation because thanks to hereditary,
Payman?
Mm-hmm. Payman.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And, his thing, I'm also a musician, so it's kind of like, it kind of made sense. And through working with him, I've, learned things about myself that were not things that I was sort of ignoring, but kind of not paying attention to, and sort of questioning why I was stuck in, old cycles and not able to break free from certain things. One of those recent things is my health, right? Is my weight, right? So at the moment, I think I'm 3 months into going to Planet Fitness now, so I've been
That's awesome.
on top of that, and it was through some of those meditation sessions, also known as shadow work. I've done shadow work where I've had to come to terms with with certain things about myself,
Which we all should.
right? Mm-hmm. And it's just it's been very helpful to me. I don't recommend it to everybody, because it's just some people are not should not work with certain beings, just
Right.
just by the very nature of being an individual.
Well, yeah, demonology is also the idea that like demons have their own personalities.
Right.
Demonology is the idea that demons are not violent beings.
Right.
I just want to emphasize that to the audience, because when they hear the word demon,
Mm-hmm.
they're thinking of it in a Judeo-Christian sense.
Right.
And that's not what demonology is.
Right. Because I personally only really work with certain spirits from the Goetia.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really venture away from that.
Goetia is the work that lists all the demons that one can work with.
Right. Yeah. So it was, the Goetia, it was sort of I don't say it was written by Solomon, but it was kind of put together by Solomon, and then Aleister Crowley kind of, put it together in its modern form. But it's 72 spirits that Solomon, allegedly locked away because they were too dark and evil for the world. But really, a lot of them are just old pagan gods.
Yeah.
Pagan deities, pagan angels, even. For example, who was it? Ammon is just Ra, right?
Mhm.
But maybe just a different aspect of Ra. Epos, I believe, is just Anubis, but just again a different aspect of him. So
Yeah.
it's just these aren't demons; these are just other people's, gods and whatever, right?
Right.
So, so even though they have different names, they're kind of cut from the same cloth as these, as these deities. It's kind of like how I don't want to use cosplaying and LARPing as an example, but it's just when you put on a costume, you are embodying somebody else for a moment, right? Again, not to say these spirits are wearing costumes, but it's just different aspects of the same being, right? Who you are at work is not who you are, with your friends at the bar, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's the best way to make sense of it for myself, right? I don't know if that's the right way
No, that
to
makes
sort of
sense.
classify
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah. Tell us about Payman. How did you encounter Payman? What's his story?
So I followed S. Connolly's system for like finding your main spirit to work with, and it was basically just go through the list and sort of figure out who feels right for you. Like first go based off of like your zodiac sign. So if you're a Scorpio, you're a water sign. So for example, I'm a Scorpio, so I picked spirits that were water aligned, right? And then I took a pendulum and I was just like, which of these spirits is most likely, wanting to work with me. So then I kind of did it that way. Now, initially, I didn't pick Payman. I actually picked Belial,
Okay.
and I was working with him for a few months. But then, through Gnosis, which by the way is kind of just information that you learn via meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Through Gnosis, I learned, hey, Belial was just here to sort of guide you on your path for the first couple of months to eventually lead you to Payman. Because in my first couple of months of in this path, I was very naive. I was very clumsy. I was kind of kind of dumb. not gonna sugarcoat it.
Sure. Yeah.
And Belial is known to sort of have a bit more patience for that. He's a bit more, again, a bit more patient, whereas Payman is less so. So I think it's just like I wasn't ready to work with Payman at that point, but I got to a point where I was,
Mm-hmm.
and so I started to work more exclusively with Payman, and to this day I still do.
Okay. Rob, it is hot. Can you turn off?
Yeah,
Like-
you know what? I was thinking the same thing.
It is boiling.
I was just like, hey, that's a
Right?
hot topic. No, just kidding.
Can I just turn it off like that? That's fine.
Yeah. Hey, can you actually lower the heat out there too? Because it's coming in through the vents.
Oh, okay. I'll just leave this out then.
Yeah. Sandra says each demon has a different purpose, just like angels.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use the. I'll be
Sandra says I accidentally opened up a doorway one time reading Aleister Crowley. Had to cleanse the house.
And
No, go ahead.
and I will say this, right? So, I've of course had people be like, save your soul, you're going to hell or whatever. But I'm just like, one thing that I've learned from, being a demonologist is that a lot of this dichotomy that exists for us doesn't exist for them as spirits,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, for example, I've always had a connection, like a pretty strong connection to the angel Metatron.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I thought, because, again, I'm thinking from that dichotomy, because I'm a demonologist, I'm not allowed to work with angels because they're on opposite sides. They hate each other, right? But it was Payman who was just like, hey, by the way, you should go work with Metatron. I'm like, oh. I thought you guys hated each other. It's just like, no, that's you guys. That's you. We're not like that. We're just, it's different energies, but it's not a hatred, right? It's just like water and fire don't hate each other. It's just they're different.
Well,
right?
yeah. Again, I mean that makes sense because we get the system from this Judeo-Christian system
Mm-hmm.
that was put in place when these beings were already around before that.
Right.
So.
And for anybody who sort of, anybody who's listening or watching from a more Christian perspective is probably gonna, still, pray for me, which is fine. But I do invite you to read a book called Where the Gods Left Off by Sarah Rat something. Where the Gods Left Off. She's a Christian witch who has done sort of her own pathworking and interviews, per se, with spirits like Paimon and, Odin and Loki to sort of ask questions from a Christian perspective. And, before I even read that book, lots of the stuff she's saying is stuff that I, again, came to the conclusion to myself just working with Paimon.
Right.
Right. So it's just like, we don't hate each other. It's just, again, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're still working with Paimon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's working out well right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you, when you communicate, and Paimon communicates back,
Mm-hmm.
what is it? Is it a sense of feeling you get? Is it, how do you know he's communicating with you?
Mm-hmm. So that's the $1 million question, right? It's just like, how do you know it's them and it's not just you talking to yourself? It very well could just be me talking to myself. But for me, the way that it comes through is via feelings, sort of visions in my mind while I'm meditating. And the only way that I can explain this is I know it's not me because it's in a different tone or in a different style than the way that I'm familiar with the way that I think and the way that I speak to myself,
Right.
So if it feels like it's outlandish and not of my natural, train of thought, I'm like, okay, this is a message from whoever, right?
Right.
So that's how it kind of works for me. Some people will use tarot cards to sort of speak to them. Some people will use pendulums.
Yeah.
So it depends on the person. But I've been trying to get better with communicating via not those means. So
okay.
Mm-hmm.
You go by an alter ego, Sapphire.
Yeah, Sapphire Moon.
Sapphire Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that come from for you?
So I work as a tarot reader for Just Witchies. Yeah. Twice a month.
South side of Chicago, or what town is it in?
It's in Oak Forest.
Oak Forest, Illinois.
Oak Forest.
Yeah.
Oak Forest, Illinois. So, great shop, by the way. But
it is actually. They have a good book collection.
Oh yeah, and the owners there's something for everybody there. There is no discrimination as far as practices go. But sorry, when I first started, they asked me, "Do you want to go by Paul or do you want to go by a name?" I'm just like, I have a chance to pick a name. All right, so I thought about it.
And he said Jack Chavez.
Jack Chavez, no.
Yes.
Leroy Jenkins. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, I'll see myself out.
No, we're done here. No.
But so I thought about so I like the color blue. That's one of my favorite colors, if it's not obvious.
Yeah.
All right. So, and I thought, okay, my favorite stone is called lapis lazuli. It's a very beautiful, almost royal blue stone. And I thought to myself, okay, I call myself Lapis, and I'm like, and I like the moon. I thought Lapis Moon sounded dumb. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna pick that. The next best thing for me was Sapphire, because Sapphire is again a beautiful blue, and I've always been drawn to the moon. I'm like, Sapphire Moon. I'm like, okay, that works. So I went with that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's just simple.
Yeah, honestly, it was my favorite color,
Yeah.
and the moon. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
When you had told me once before that when you were a kid, your energy, your powers were more developed,
Mm-hmm.
and that you've been practicing lately to get that back, or you had an experience, I think, as a teen.
Now, I'm sorry.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
no, I'm not laughing at you. It's just
No,
like
no.
it's just the way you said it, just like my powers. It's like I feel like you know
An X-Men.
Yeah, and next it's like Jean Grey. It's just like I'm just levitating in my room. Just things are flying. Then sorry.
That's how it is. I've been to your place, and that's how it is.
No, but no, there's something to be said for for those teenage years. They say that because you're still developing and your emotions are everywhere, oftentimes where there are teenagers, there will be hauntings.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times those poltergeist hauntings aren't actually poltergeists. It's residual psychic energy coming from, an unbalanced teenager, right?
Yeah.
And in my experiences, I did have some situations where I was able to do things that were a little, out there, but I do attribute that to the fact that I was a teenager. I was able to move things, here or there. I went through a couple light bulbs. I know that sounds crazy, but it's
not on this channel.
It's what happened. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's what happened. I mean, I don't know why it happened, but it did. I've not been able to recreate it since. I think because when you reach a certain level of adulthood, sort of your logical mind sort of takes over and kind of not suppresses, but kind of stores away things that doesn't really need anymore.
Yeah,
I
think
mean?
suppression is a good word for it.
So,
And what did you have this one big experience that you had?
Okay.
If you want to share it, do you want to share it or no?
I think we can save that for another episode.
Okay.
But
all right. Sounds good.
All I'm gonna say is that it was out there, but it was interesting. So for a part 2.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess
Because we will have you back.
Yeah.
And where are we at time?
We're actually about at the end.
Okay. And so, Paul, where could people find you?
Where can they find me? Okay.
Yeah.
So. Find me at Just Witchies. Look for me on the schedule for under Sapphire Moon if you want a reading, or just want to chat. I'm always there on those 2 days, usually Friday or Saturday. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, on my Facebook, like Paul Vega is, because even though I call myself Sapphire Moon, I don't have that anywhere other than on my Instagram. So I guess on my Instagram you can find me there, on my TikTok.
So on TikTok and Instagram, Sapphire Moon.
Yeah. So on Instagram, I believe it's here. I'm just gonna look at it. I'm not gonna remember. It's Sapphire Moon 77.
Any underscore or anything like that?
Give me 1 second. Yeah, Sapphire Moon Tarot 77 is Instagram.
Okay.
No hyphens or anything. It's just one word. And then on TikTok, Sapphire_Moon 77. So it's the same thing, but on TikTok there's an underscore.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, oh, you want to get closer to the mic real quick?
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, Paul Vega.
Yeah, Paul Vega. I have a picture of an owl as my.
That's awesome.
I've had that for forever. I should probably change it. But.
And then you're gonna be at a market.
Oh yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah, so if you guys would like to, chat some more about anything you hear me talk about, or just want to check out the market, please come by. It's at Thornton Distilling Company on March. Let me make sure I give you the right date. March 22nd from 12 to 6. It's the March Madness market. There's gonna be a bunch of vendors, food. It's always a fun time.
At Thornton Distilling Company in Thornton, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be there. Check out Paul. Check him out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and then at Just Witchies in Oak Forest, Illinois.
Forest, yep. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Paul, we will have you back, and we're going to get into that story more.
Cool.
So thanks for coming, man.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone.